I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is day 5 of the 2026 Carcassonne Champions League, where 60 of the world's strongest, luckiest, grittiest, and whichever adjective in superlative you choose, players are competing over the course of 9 weeks for the ultimate prize. Today, some more high-level Carcassonne is headed your way in about 5 minutes, as we will be watching the reigning world champion Xiangyu Qin of China in action. Their challenger will be the British master David Faraci, with the screen name Lard Terrycloth, originally from the United States, now representing the United Kingdom. And after that, there's going to be one more match between Larpaattori of Finland and Angostur of Italy, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So first of all, match number 1. This is our world champion, Xiangyu, with this screen name, which I'm not going to pronounce. I'm going to affectionately refer to him as QAZ, or just Q. As you can see, almost 1,000 games of experience, but this is only on this account. He has experience in previous accounts, and it's also quite an interesting story. Current rating of 688, peak rating way over 800, and of course recently won the World Championship, so in very good shape. Definitely, David, with the screen name Lard Terrycloth, is not going to be the favorite in this one, despite a solid rating of 651 and a peak rating nearing mid-700s, 2,000 games experience on this platform, about 12,000 games of experience in other platforms, so definitely a very experienced, also in quite a good shape. David has had a good year, winning the United Kingdom National Carcassonne Championship, then finishing at the middle of the pack at the World Championship in person. And then after that, also winning 3rd place in the United Kingdom Online Carcassonne Championship, then having quite a difficult, grueling qualification run for the Champions League. So first of all, they defeated Daniel Ayala of Mexico, then they lost to Tomasz Rode of Poland, but then again they went to the losers bracket, where they again defeated Daniel Ayala of Mexico. And finally, in the consolation finals, they managed to get their revenge against Poland's Tomasz Rode and secure the last and final place in the main stage of the Champions League. So David's hanging in there. For Xiangyu, of course, the path was much easier, as the world champion gets invited to the main stage of the Champions League automatically. So this is the itinerary of both of these players. They are in the Earth League, so in the left part of the players' pool. Whoops, misclick here. Yeah, so this is David's itinerary, now playing against the world champion. Then perhaps some less challenging matches afterwards, at least compared to this one. And for QAZ, I saw them in a second. Ah, yeah, there they are. So this is their opening. Then again, you can see all their other opponents in the future. Yeah, so the system is that each player has 5 opponents, and then whoever gets the most victories qualifies to the playoffs. It's a rather simple system. What's just tricky is to keep track of the matches that players are playing. Yeah, the other match between Finland's Lauri Leppänen and Italy's Andrea Pacenti, we're going to preview a little bit later. I'll just leave their profile pages open so that you know that this is coming. But now, in about 2 minutes' time, Xiangyu Qin against David Faraci. Best of 3 as usual. Hi Fabien. Hi João. Alright, so now this is 1300 UTC where I am. And the players should be starting any second. Both of them should be online by now. Yeah, there we go. The world champion has logged in. Hi, Agatha. I see already some of y'all are rooting for David. Do let me know if we have any viewers from China or other supporters of the world champion to balance things out. Something's a little bit off with the settings here, I believe, because I thought that I saw the match being set up. Ah, yeah, there it is, there it is. So we're playing a classic 15-minute time control best of 3. David's playing his traditional green. Meeple is going to be the starting player. Meeple's a city. The world champion playing bright red. He's going to respond. A mild exchange of pleasantries in the chat, and we're off to the race's first road segment. It's gonna go to green. Probably starting a new road over here is a fairly no-brainer, and I'm surprised that David even took this long. He tends to play openings quite fast, which is a good thing in this time control because you get to keep yourself more time for the end game. Now let's see how aggressive David is. So the move that I play in this position might seem a bit weird to some. I don't go here. I don't go here either. And I definitely don't drop a farmer here, but instead I meeple this a second road just to not allow my opponent's easy road segment. Because now what Xiangyu can do, well, not this, I was presuming. This is not so much his style anymore, I would think. This move accomplishes several purposes. I mean, it makes this square a bit more vulnerable. It makes this square a little bit more vulnerable. It makes it so that it is no longer possible to build a loop road. And it makes the field a little bit smaller. Yeah, actually a lot of things. I probably would have preferred to just go here with the road and score, but after this farmer, maybe the world champion has decided that there is some equity in playing against that farmer, now that he has also drawn the first monastery of the game for 5 points, and a chance to control some green squares in his opponent's farm. This is something, of course, however, there are plenty of green squares on the other side, so this farmer will probably be developing. There's a situation going in this here area of the board, as red is trying hard to block this here square. And I'm a bit surprised about this move, actually. I thought that red would have gone in the other direction, not leaving 2 tiles that fit into the square for finishing this city, but maybe just turning this Dorito like this, trying to get a triple city in, or at least to force his opponent to get a triple city in. Yeah, you know what? I think this was a bit of a rushed move from Xiangyu. Obviously now players making natural moves, a new city on the right, a road for green and so on. Green now takes a monastery, has no regard about this square potentially getting blocked, but I think it's definitely justified. But basically, the reason why I was preferring this other move is because it would make sure that the city never gets completed, because at the very least it would take away the disaster scenario, because Lard Terrycloth can still draw something to fit into this square. He can still get a defense tile to cover up and so on. But then if you manage to block the square completely, or even creates some sort of a big ruin, because maybe your opponent's going to invade here and so on, then if there are no completed cities in this area, this means that this here guy will be struggling to develop his real estate. Currently now scoring only 3 points for this city. If this city gets finished, the problem of both the city meeple and this farmer meeples are solved. This also was an interesting move from David. Strong defense, not allowing QAZ to go here and block the square. Now David's going to keep working in that area. He can place a tile like this, maybe a city tile going here, trying to restrict this area completely and wait for one of the two starting tiles to finish his city. In the meantime, Xiangyu is trying to attack the city on the left. Some good prospects, still 5 tiles that fit into this square. A vanilla city cap, a Dorito, so 3 different tiles are needed to complete this city for 20 points. Getting 2 meeples back, certainly a threat that David will need to invest considerable resources into thwarting. Interesting decision here. Quick points for Xiangyu. Choosing not to care too much about the completion of that city, just take the immediate value. David, however, found a wonderful move, sacrificing a monastery. I'm not sure if maybe wonderful is a bit of a stretch, but understandable. So sacrificing a monastery, not getting his meeple back, and all so that this square is defended. Now, the only tile that fits here, or at least the most likely tile that fits here, is a curve that goes over here and nicely protects the square. Then another curve would help this road finish on the other side, and it would also drastically develop this field because it would bring these 2 cities into the farm. But now another interesting situation occurs. So Green was trying to create some blocking chances against this square, and Green now sacrifices points again. So I was curious what Green was going to do, because Red was threatening to cover up on this side with some like a vanilla city cap, and then have the 75% chance of getting one of the 2 triple cities to fit into that square and finish the 22-point city. And to reduce the chances of that happening, David chose not to go here, which I think would have been the natural move. Not to go here, which I think would have been the other natural move. And even sacrifice a meeple, sort of, kind of, because now this green guy is, well, if not trapped, then at the very least severely restricted. Just so that the city doesn't get finished too soon. I'm not sure how much I like that, because there's still 2 tiles that fit into that square. And David's going to struggle without meeples for a long time. Also, I think a bit of an imprecision from David. He could have gone here now. Try to develop his field a little bit earlier, or also develop the road. And he does this right now, realizing that there was this chance that he can catch up with now. This city on the left is also a bit of a threat. David doesn't have meeples in hand, so we won't have too many options to try and attack that city. So he will need to find something that goes here, maybe some blocking opportunities. In the meantime, one of the cow tiles has been drawn. So now 2 tiles that fit into this square. Red is 1 tile away from finishing a city. So of course David is going to divert all his resources to block, and he gets the blocking opportunity right now. That's a great tile for David. So this city is blocked. Still the play with the red meeples is doing just fine, because they're, what, 11 points already here. David has chosen to gamble a little bit and leave this city unmeepled. This is to prevent his meeple from getting blocked. He does not get the benefits of that city just yet. It will be picked up by Xiangyu. I will be shocked if he does anything else. Yes, of course, 5 points, some chances to complete the city, and most importantly, avoiding donating David these points right now. 3 points for David, standard maneuver to try and score a little bit and obstruct the square. Yeah, and again, with his meeple majority, red just keeps creating threat everywhere. Like, this city of red is completable. This city of red was completable before David was forced to sacrifice points and block yet again. So David has sacrificed really, really a lot of points in blocking, but this is solely because red keeps creating threats everywhere. Hi, Nalaheim. So Xiangyu now has plenty of good options with the best tile in the deck. This is one of them. He chooses to make a more peaceful move, taking 2 points, trying to further obstruct the square. David scores quick points, makes this here square a little bit more vulnerable. Well, now surely Xiangyu is going to meeple a 6-point monastery. I'd be surprised to see anything else. Or actually, do I take that back? I think I take that back. Yeah, it's also maybe just okay to go here and block this road meeple permanently. Even though this road meeple is unlikely to survive to begin with, there is still one tile that fits into this square, and so I can easily imagine something coming down in this area. Yeah, this move from David is not particularly strong. This restriction is just not as powerful as it might seem, and David kind of needed this tile in another area. There are still 2 tiles that fit into this square, which at this stage of the game is quite a lot. But one of these tiles is drawn by green. He finishes a 10-point city and a 14-point road and takes the lead on the scoreboard for the first time. Of course, the overall lead still belongs to red due to all these city points on the left. The field of green is worth 12 points, which is not quite enough at the moment. Red is now going to finish a city for 8 at the bottom, possibly with a farmer, possibly without, possibly with a meeple on the city cap. We'll see his exact course of action in a second. So does he meeple the city cap? And yes, he does. 8 points go to red's scoreboard. Red is ahead again. David, with a straight line, has 2 fundamental options. One is simply finishing his monastery, but then he might decide that he doesn't need meeples that bad at this stage of the game. He might want to go here instead and perhaps drop a farmer, try to play against this guy. Precisely because of this, red now gets a meeple back. There's this little 6-point field at the bottom, which either side can claim. I'm sure David's going to go here right now and take it. Yeah, I think David should have really considered using this straight line over here. And based on the time management, he seems to be just not calculating things as thoroughly as he could. Because the game, I'm not sure if it still is, but no, I think it is still quite winnable for green with the 2 extra meeples. Red now will probably claim the 6-point field on the left. Although there's another option, red can just go here, for example, on the left, just getting 1 point and simply threatening the completion of this here city. There's still 1 starting tile that's fit there. Also, this is an interesting option. Why don't we start a new city, threatening to finish the city and drop a farmer? That'll be quite a big deal. Yeah, and he does exactly this. And we're threatening to finish the monastery at the same time. And David gets a tile with which he can do nothing, absolutely nothing to stop the city completion. Will Red finish the city? And Red does not finish the city just yet. But Red finishes the monastery, doesn't even bother taking the extra point, just wants to get the meeple back. David now has to do something about that city. It will, of course, be still completable with a starting tile. But at the very least, now Red cannot use this tile to complete the city, and even if he does, he will not be able to drop a farmer. Red just chooses to get 1 point, 5 points ahead on the scoreboard, boatload on these ruins. David has the field's control, chooses to drop yet another farmer, rather thoughtlessly, to be honest. I'm a bit surprised that decision. It's actually a decent decision, because then if he can get a curve, he's going to have 2 6-point farms with 2 meeples for 12 points, bringing his field total up to at least 24. Still not quite enough to catch up with all of these monstrosities on the left. 11 here, 3 here, that's 14, 5 here, that's 19. And this is like something like 26, 27, yeah. So Xiangyu still going to be ahead by a couple. What does the Chinese master do now? This is an interesting move. He simply chooses to score. I would have considered going here, maybe. Trying to set up a city completion option. This would not have worked, but was an interesting idea. David now can go here, maybe on the left, try to fight for this city. Which would not be a good idea, actually, because there are no Dorito or triple city tiles left for connecting to that city, even. Yeah, David's going to struggle to score. The best move that I see at the moment is actually going here and simply taking 4 points for the road. This is the maximum score that I can see. Then, hoping that we, and not our opponent, are going to draw the last starting tile. And instead of Red placing the starting tile here for his city completion, we're going to go here and get 7 points for our field. And then, on the penultimate move, we get a curve, go here for a 2-point road and a 3-point field expansion. That's 5. And we're still going to have a meeple left for our last tile. So this would be the maximum scoring opportunity. David could be tempted to go here and try to score a bigger city. I think it would be problematic because that city could be blocked. So the 4-point road would be my choice at this moment. I don't really see anything else, and I have very little doubt that David is going to miss that idea. Four tiles available in the deck at the moment. I mean, 3 in the World Champion's hand. No, what am I saying? This is not the strategic variant. 3 in the deck, 1 in our opponent's hands from David's perspective. One of them is a curve, one of them is a starting tile. And because one of them is a starting tile, it is essential that we spend a meeple right now. Because with the starting tile, we will be able to score 7 points here without investing a meeple. And if we spend a meeple now, this will make sure that we don't have a surplus at the end. One thing that David needs to watch out for a little bit is Red potentially making a field invasion. Even though Red is ahead at the moment and does not need to invade the farm in order to win, David, I think, will be ahead after these 2 moves because he's going to score 11. And so from Red's perspective, it's entirely possible to go here and invade the field. But then, from Green's perspective, there's really nothing much that you can do about this. You just have to roll with the points. 14 points, I believe David is behind at the moment. So if we go here, it's -10. Then we get this tile, it's -3. And then we get this tile, it's +2, right? Still does not seem to be quite enough. There are certainly ways how Xiangyu can lose this game with a blunder or something, maybe trying to invade the field, drop a 0-point farmer, and then just not get the connection tile. With 5 minutes on the clock, the world champion is not going to make such a mistake. But it is entirely possible that I miscounted the points here and there. Maybe the difference is not 14 points, maybe it is a little bit less. But it is around that area. And David finds the move, goes to the 4-point road. Xiangyu with an excellent tile for himself, which will allow him to get some quick points. Well, actually, there are two possibilities. One is to get quick points, which I think is the simplest and best. And the other one is to go here for a 3-point farm. Try to prevent the field expansion at the bottom. With like 3 points and a meeple back, it should be more than enough, right? To have any chance, David needs to draw a starting tile like right now and not later. Like right now, and he does not have it. He will have it eventually, which is very nice for him. Xiangyu will score 3 points for the road. David will get his quick points at the top, his 7 points, but he will have a meeple to spare and no time to use it, unfortunately. Red has many ways to score points, goes for a 3-point field at the top. It's an aesthetic choice. My personal preference is to go for the road, because then there's something beautiful about winning a game while scoring 0 points for a farmer. This, of course, does not have any bearing on the actual results. So let's see what the score difference is. I think it should be around 5 or 6 points. The Chinese player should prevail here. So now lots of farmers are counted. Oh, 15 points for the main field. Yeah, I told you I would be... No, it's all good. Yeah, 15 points for the main field. And 6 points for both secondary fields. 4 points is the final difference. So this means, yeah, just as we had calculated, even with a perfect run of tiles, David could have gotten 2 extra points. So if David gets this tile as his penultimate tile, he can do the same thing as he did in the game. And then if he gets the curve as his last tile of the game, then he gets to go here and take these 2 points for the road, eventually losing -2. Yeah, I believe there were no winning sequences for David at all, with one exception. So let's say if QAZ does not get this tile immediately, if QAZ gets the straight line, then the Chinese master would be forced to find his only winning move, which is going over here with the farmer. That is actually quite important that I'm pretty sure he would have found this, but basically, so imagine if David gets his perfect tile run out. He gets to score here, he's now losing only by 2 points. Then, if red does not get the tile here, he will not have his 3 quick points, and so he's going to have 1 fewer point. He's going to be at -1. Then, in order to win, he would either need to start a road on his penultimate move and maybe score an extra point, and then the game would be tied, and then he would win by a tie because he was the second player, or he would need to drop a farmer here for 3 points, but prevent this farmer from expanding in that area. So there still would have been a way for red to win this game. It's just with a better run out of tiles, or with a different run out of tiles, the win would have been harder to find. Alrighty, so in game 2 now, David is the starting player yet again, so some good fortune for him. Let's see if he can manage to use this right now. He absolutely needs to win this game in order to stand a chance against the world champion. And also, our next match is not starting for another 35 minutes, so it would be in everybody's best interest that we carry this on for as long as possible. So, despite David being the starting player, it is Xiangyu who has already 4 points on the scoreboard as a result of completing this city. David in a bit of trouble in these areas. All of his meeples are in precarious positions. This move is incredibly annoying to deal with. Now this here red meeple controls both the green monastery and the green city over here, right as green was going to place a tile over here to get him the first 8 points on the game. This is still not too bad. Yeah, green can start a new city, just goes for his high scoring move. Red gets even more points for the road at the bottom. David with a city cap. Some interesting options. Yeah, chooses to start a city at the top, making the square mildly more vulnerable. Xiangyu now with a really interesting decision with this road monastery. Several options here. Option 1, the one which could be, I guess, most obvious, is this one, but I don't think it is the best move necessarily. It looks like this monastery is nicely controlling this square and this square, right? But actually, if we just ignore this area for now, then from David's perspective, this one city meeple is controlling... Yeah, okay, whatever. I was gonna say that city meeple is controlling both the monastery and the road. So if David were to just sit tight and not do anything in that square, this could be quite annoying to deal with for red. Yeah, a move that I would have preferred for the monastery placement is probably going to be here. It's just a much more peaceful option. In any case, red is doing just fine with 7 points extra as a result of finishing some more cities. David finally catches up a little bit by finishing this here city a move earlier, but some more quick points for QAZ. City tile for red. Probably gonna go here and try and permanently block this meeple. 3 out of 4 starting tiles have already gone out. So finishing this city will be a tall order for green. This is exactly what we see. David gets a split a tile. Probably going to finish the city at the bottom. He could be tempted to go here instead. I think we wait for a proper Dorito. Yeah, I think it's just being a bit too inefficient with tiles when you're behind. But let's see what happens. Red now has a choice between 3 pretty much equivalent moves. Well, actually, no, many moves. Let's try and figure out all of them. Yeah, this was definitely one of them. Trying to either block the square or invade that city. David catches up on the scoreboard a little bit, and QAZ now again needs to make a very interesting decision. Do we go here and try to fight for that city, or do we do this? And I definitely like that idea from Xiangyu, blocking the square, leaving this guy stranded with 5 points, leaving the red guy stranded with 4 points. Hardly a lost mini battle. And red still has the chance to complete features here. Green is really struggling with his meeple disadvantage. Now is going to have this area blocked. This monastery is still alive, however. Just needs a city tile plus a curve. But QAZ is going to meeple a longish road out of nowhere, very nicely constructed and spotted. So first of all, this is blocked, and second, another curve goes here, road end goes here. It's an infallible 12-point road. It's absolutely wonderful. Red is in the driver's seat here. Gonna continue his road now. I don't really see anything else, as David is trying to break the wrong city, I believe, again. I think this tile belonged over here much better than in the other location. David can probably now do something like this, or something like this perhaps, to try and break this meeple as well. Since both players have one meeple apiece, even delaying the recovery of your opponent's meeples should help quite a bit. David just continues his city at the bottom. This is not something that I expected at all. QAZ is now not gonna take quick points. I believe the best course of action is to go here, try to threaten the block of this monastery, which still can be completed, and we definitely want to prevent that. The downside of any of these possible moves in this square, and there are three possibilities, three possible rotations of this tile. The downside of that, it restricts this square, and red chose the orientation that in his mind is the less of a bunch of evils. And red now is probably going to go ahead and complete the block. I would not shy away of... Okay, this cannot possibly be correct. This cannot possibly be correct. Like, how is an entire meeple less valuable than just measly 2 points? Okay, I see that these are 2 points with an additional blocking platform. But still, now David has nicely protected his monastery. He will get a city cap. He will recover a meeple. I think Xiangyu there being unnecessarily greedy and can end up paying the price for this. Still a good position for red. But green can finish these two cities, and then green gonna be ahead on the scoreboard. Green gonna have the meeple majority, because red is having meeple trouble in these areas, in this area. I really think we just witnessed a blunder from the world champion, which sometimes happens. Alright, so David now continues his construction on the left. QAZ is kind of forced to do something about this, and maybe he's forced to spend his last meeple and try and invade that city. An alternative is to be a bit more gambly and go here. Leave the city cap open at the bottom. Try to score 4 points in the next move. Then create a platform to block that square. It could be a little bit too slow, but given the large number of city plus road tiles already used up, I think statistically we are the favorite to eventually block this meeple. Or if not the favorite, then it definitely looks very, very viable. And Xiangyu tries to do exactly this, but it does not work, as David gets the last starting tile in the deck, finishes a city for 10, and for the first time in the game, he's ahead on the scoreboard. David now is going to finish another city at the bottom. An alternative is to go here and invade this city. An alternative is also to go here, or an alternative is to go here. Yeah, actually, maybe this is better, to just fill in the square and prepare the recovery of your meeple. Like, a meeple is not nothing. But then, you know what? We still have 2 more city caps that fit for us. Yeah, and he decided that he wants to take care of business right now. This allows red to score some quick points, which is the price we have to pay. Straight line for David, successfully blocks this square, which means that this meeple is never seeing the light of day. This meeple is also fairly vulnerable, but David still needs to work to try and block it. Now this green meeple is in a bit of trouble, but green's going to have quick points elsewhere. There's a little field being created at the bottom, and it says the Brit who is the favorite to claim that field due to his meeple majority. Shielded tile for red, and a bit of a dilemma. He chooses to be gutsy and spend his last meeple. I was gonna say to his detriment, but actually still think the move was correct. You have to create threats somehow. There's still plenty of city caps in the deck to try and finish this. And QAZ recovered a meeple anyway, even though it also gave meeple back to green. Green, I think, with a bit of an unusual priority, trying to block this square. I understand that move, I do. It just ends up not working as red covers up. We'll be able to get a tile to fit here to expand his possessions. Well, green now needs to put his meeple advantage into good use. Why don't we start claiming field? Like, there's a 6-point field here, there's a 6-point field here. So these are just 12 points waiting to happen. We still can draw a Dorito tile here, perhaps, to try and create some threats. QAZ now is going to threaten the completion of his city. He's probably going to go here or here. I'm not quite sure as to which one's better. It depends on the dagger asymmetry, which we can look into a little bit later. An alternative I was going to say is to go here and score 3 immediate points. 1 for the city and 2 for the road, and maybe still have a chance to complete that one. Mr. Faraci now needs to make a decision if that city is worth invading, or maybe instead of invading that city, we go here perhaps, go for a second farmer, try to drop a city cap in our fields and score some more. Quite a lot of options here for green. I believe I would spend like full 3 minutes of this move. So this is a critical moment of the game. This is where we're stop being in the middle game, in the late middle game, and now we're in the pre-end game. So even though we cannot calculate the exact sequence of events that's going to happen, 9 tiles is enough to know all the information about what's remaining in the deck. We can then plan for possible combos of the tiles that we can draw without necessarily knowing the order in which we draw them, and try to find a win with the smallest number of special tiles that we have to draw in order to make that win happen. So this would be something along the lines that I would be thinking here if I were green. Intuitively, I don't really want to invade that city. It is 7 points. It's not going to be that big. If I invade it right now, if I go here, I leave a 4-point up for grabs, and even a 4-point could be decisive, especially if my opponent has only 1 meeple. So quick points are valued as gold when you only have 1 meeple. Yeah, so my intuition says just to go for the second farm, but there are other options available. We could just develop our first farm, for example. We could meeple that city cap, let's say here, or maybe even better here. Then try to finish that city with a second farmer or without. Yeah, tough choices. David is overall -7 at the moment if my calculations are correct. So the game is pretty close, but I would say that red is the favorite because red has more threats. Red has cities that red can complete, And if David goes here, then David's going to be at -1. Instead, David chooses to try and start blocking the square, and this move, is that a setup of another city cap in his field? I think it is. Yeah, it's quite interesting. There's still one tile that fits into this square. David gets a similar tile, not quite the one that he needs. But red gets a 5-point move at the top, continuing his city. David keeps dropping city caps in his field. Nothing much that QNZ can do about this. Maybe going here is an option, just getting some points. Maybe spending your last meeple here, trying to take out that city cap. It's really all predicated on this dagger being drawn. This would grant 7 points to red. To green, sorry. Six minutes on the Chinese player's clock. Yeah, I think red can actually withstand this tile being drawn. And let's see if my judgment is correct, as this tile is in fact drawn. The setup pays off. The 7 points have been gained. QAZ now with a city cap. Probably gonna go here and threaten the completion of his city, or maybe go here and threaten the completion of his other city. And David now needs to make an interesting decision. So does he go here? I think he does. But if he goes here, he will equalize the city at the bottom, first of all. And that would give him 4 points. Then he would have an extra completed city in his field. That would be 7 points. And then another 3 points from dropping a new farmer in this area. So that would be a 10-point move without giving without spending a meeple. It would, however, give a meeple back to red, but 10 points are definitely more valuable than a meeple. An alternative is to go here for just 3. But you can't sacrifice 7 points for a meeple, so I think you just have to bite your tongue and do this. This city, if I remember correctly, cannot really be completed because we're out of city caps. I'm pretty sure that that's the case. Yeah, so it's no longer a threat, and David has 4.5 minutes to make sure this is the case. I guess the downside of going over here is that you do give away a 6-point field that your opponent can claim in this area. But then you can claim this 5-point road, perhaps, which is almost the same. And there's a 6-point field here anyway. So I'm pretty sure that David is going to go there eventually. This, however, is quite interesting. You know what? Because there is one more Dorito in the deck. And if David wants to be surgical about this, then maybe David can set up an interesting coin flip. He can go here for a 3-point farm, waiting for it to become a 6-point farm, and then get the last Dorito on his next move. Yeah, this is also a possibility, actually. It's not straightforward. Or David can just go here and expand his city by 3 points and then hope to do the thing with the Dorito regardless. This would also net him 6 points for his last meeple, like 3 in this area and 3 in this area. And this would also solve the problem of giving a meeple back to red. So basically what David needs to calculate is, does he have a 100% win in this scenario or not? Or will he need to go for a 50-50, which probably means drawing the last Dorito tile? What's quite interesting is that the other unused tile appears to be a monastery, which goes here neatly for 7 points. Yeah, so maybe my suggestion here is like not necessarily the best. Even though it would score 10 points immediately, it would give back this 7 points option. If your opponent draws the monastery. And then with the regular Dorito, we don't have much that we can do. So if we just go here for 3 points, this appears to be the most flexible move, because then either we can get the monastery for 7 or the last Dorito for 10. So it did take me a few minutes to catch up with what's going on in this endgame. And regardless of the point situation, now I believe that going here is actually no longer correct. I think we have to go here. And we have to hope that our opponent gets the monastery and that we get the Dorito, but David disagrees. David goes for the move which gives the most immediate points. QAZ gets the monastery, and David, I believe, could have gifted the victory, or at least he gifted a lot of points to his opponents. David gets the Dorito, and he cannot do nothing about with this Dorito. He can just go for 3 points. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, here's a 3-point field. And I think, yeah, David massively misplayed that 3 endgame. It's a very difficult endgame to play, right? Initially I thought that David's move was correct. But then upon further realization, it was actually essential not to give a meeple back to your opponent. Because if David just waits and go here, he would have still had 2 high-scoring plays, either the 7-point monastery himself or the regular Dorito tile in this area. So with more precise play, David would have scored 7 points extra comparison to what he had in the game. Let's now see if that would have been decisive. And the answer appears to be a resounding yes, a tragic, tragic loss. Unfortunately, David had, let me see if he had a 50% win or a 100% win. This is also actually just interesting to double check. I think he had a 50% win available to him. Ah, that's interesting, actually. Okay. You know what? I think regardless of what David does, it might have been a 50-50. This is an interesting game. Okay, so first of all, let's see with the actual move in the game. What if the tiles are reversed? If red gets the Dorito, then red goes here for 3, and green goes here for 7. So actually, it's an 8-point flip, right? Because we score 4 more, and our opponent scores 4 points less. 4 points fewer. So then David would have won. Okay, so David just lost the coin flip. But then if David goes for the other move, which seemed to be the intuitive move for me, okay, so if David goes here, he scores the same 3 points. And then with the monastery draw, red scores 0, and green scores the same thing on his last tile. So with the tiles in the game, green would win by 4 points. But what if the tiles are reversed? What if QAZ gets the Dorito tile, and then if Mr. Lord gets the monastery? So then, okay, we need to do this, right? So then red does not score the 7 points for the monastery, but red does get 1 extra point for one of his cities. He does not have a meeple, but he can still use the tile, right? So red has 6 points fewer. And then David, would not be able to make this 10-point move, but he would be able to make this 7-point move. So then David would have 3 points fewer, right? Because he does not make 10 points. Again, try to imagine this. So this was a 10-point move, right? Finishing a shared city. So equalizing the 4 city points, that's +4. Then farmers on both sides, that's 3 and 3. This is a 10-point move. But David would have gotten the 7-point move. So this means that in that alternative scenario, if David were to have played the tiles that I suggested, then red would have 6 fewer, green would have 3 fewer, which means that the game would be tied, and then green would lose by a tie. So it appears that no matter what you do, you're headed for a coin flip. But in one scenario, if you make the move in the game, you're hoping to draw the monastery and you hope that your opponent draws the Dorito. But in the other scenario where you do the move which I suggested, which is just going over here and scoring the immediate 3 points, then you're hoping for the opposite. You're hoping for your opponent to draw the monastery and for you to get the Dorito, which is actually what happened. Yeah, so a bit unfortunate for David. I would say intuitively it does seem a bit more precise to do the move which I suggested, simply because simply because losing by a tie, I guess, is not as bad as losing by a larger number of points. Now, for the outcome of the match, it does not matter. But if you're short on time, you should assume that there is a chance that you have miscounted by 1 point or 2. And I guess if you see that in the losing scenario you lose by a tie, in my mind there's always a small chance that I miscounted and then I would actually win. So in a practical situation, this is the move that I would have gone for. But yeah, very, very interesting situations where you just have to guess which tile your opponent has in hand and which tile you're going to draw yourself, and then base your decision accordingly. David's decision did not pay off, unfortunately for him, so it is a clean sweep for the world champion. David will need to try to catch up in the other matches. We still have a few minutes before the next match. Hi, Self-Evident, congrats on the win. Hi, Kirilo asking, why would it be a draw? I don't understand the moment. Okay. Let's go through this again. It's really not obvious. So, in the last 2 moves in the game, the way things happened, green got 10 for this move and 3 for this move. That is 13 in the last 2 moves. And red got 7 because red got a meeple back and could go here. So in the game, the way it happened, Lard Terrycloth scored 6 points net, leading to a 3-point loss. Or let me just circle a 6 here. In the alternative scenario, we go here and score 3 points. And then we go here and score 10. And score 7, right? So 3 here, plus 7 here is 10. So we score 10, but our opponent scores 1, because if they draw the Dorito, they can still go here, or here, or here. So if we score 10 and our opponent scores 1, we have netted 9 points, which is 3 more points than what we have made in the game, leading to a completely even score and a loss by a tie. This is in the worst case scenario. Obviously, in the best case scenario, if we go here and we draw the Dorito ourselves, then we just win quite easily with 4 points or something like this. Do correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in the chat. I'm pretty sure that is not the case. Also, it is not possible to block the monastery square, interestingly. As with the alternative tiles, red cannot really do anything about this square. So it's going to be 7 points no matter what happens. But yeah, it's a very complicated endgame, as you see. Like, it took me some, I think, full 3 minutes to figure out, and David ended up losing by a coin flip. Anyway, it is fortunate timing for us because we have enough time to cover the next match in its entirety. It's happening in 3 minutes. And I'm just going to step away for 1 minute to take a hot beverage. And then we're going to do a little preview. And then we're going to start Finland against Italy. The supply of hot beverages has been replenished, and we can therefore continue with the second match. It will start in a few seconds, so I'm going to do only a very quick preview. We have the Finnish Master Lauri Leppänen, now rated very solidly at nearly 700, with over 4,000 games of experience, playing against the Italian expert, again with a solid rating of 600 and 2,000 games of experience, Andrea Pacenti, Angus Tour 4. There is some nice symmetry into how these players have qualified. They have had both wonderful seasons. Larpaattori has won their country's online national championship by defeating none other than Otto Ikonen in the finals, 3-2. You can see the coverage of that. Quite an epic match somewhere on this channel. And Andrea won the Italian online championships, which allowed them to go straight to the main stage of the Champions League without having to play in any qualifiers. Larpaattori should be the favorites in this match simply due to experience. And as you can see, their 4,000 games come in just over a year. So very, very rapid progress. Andrea can definitely be strong at times, and one of those times was when he won the Italian online championships, but his good play typically comes in like pockets of inspiration. Like he would have, you know, a week or two when he has inspiration, and then he would play well, and then maybe another week he would start tilting and lose a lot of ratings. So certainly a very entertaining player to watch. If we catch him on his good day, then Larpaattori is certainly going to get a run for his money. Now I saw that the table was created, so I will be just refreshing the page a few more times. Hi, Polo Verde. Okay, what's up with these players? It has already been 3 minutes. Let me go to Larpaattori's page again. Yeah, so he has created the match, right? And it seems that Andrea is just not joining yet. Interesting. There we are. Okay, it's simply some issues with the Board Game Arena tournament system. There are some delays. And we have our usual 15-minute time control. Andrea has the black meeples and quite a good tile to start, but 30 seconds of his time have already been spent on pleasantries in the chat. And away we go. 4 points for black. Larpaattori with red meeples starting a new CE. And this is a very interesting style. How will Andrea choose to play this? There are two moves available. So option one, we do not this. Not this. I thought this was definitely a viable option. It's a very, very good option if you drop a farmer instead of going for this city cap. And like moves like these, they can just lose games. So I cannot even begin to describe how much better the position of black would have been with a farmer here compared to the meeple on this 1-point city. And this was one of the options. Another option was to simply play it casual, play it peaceful, play it low variance, and try to invade the city of red. And it seems that kind of black chose the worst of both worlds, where we don't get to invade the city, but we also don't get the compensation with the farmer either. Andrea is now trying to block the cities of red and goes for the farm nevertheless. That's a very nice find. So red's farmer is quite powerful, lots of green squares, 2 completed cities, 2 more completed cities waiting to happen. So black not only significantly restricts the options for these here red city meeples, but also is threatening to get another farmer. And the invasion is probably going to be completed right now, or no, that's interesting. He chooses to first go for the stacking routes for his monasteries. He figures he can join later, and this is actually quite true. I certainly see how the stacking works out. Red probably now not going to bother with the monastery, even although I think I would. 5 points are 5 points are 5 points, or something like this. This is probably even better, just 1 point net. So a huge sacrifice, 1 point net only, but then controlling these essential squares. Red building up his city, now turning it into a threat. Andrea can now go here, obviously, and try to keep breaking it. In most of these scenarios, these 2 meeples end up controlling one big ruin without it necessarily being completed. We're roughly even on time. Larpaattori has 13 seconds extra, but he's going to spend them on this move because it's not obvious what you're going to do. Option 1, we can go here, and we can invade the city of black. And it sounds like a good idea, but then we're leaving a 4-point road up for grabs for our opponents through the 2 monasteries. It certainly looks unpleasant with 8 curves remaining in the deck. Option 2 is something like this. Yeah, trying to build up the city, trying to keep the threat alive. Now that the city is controlled by 2 meeples, it is quite difficult to invade that city, so red will need to block that city. So black will need to block that city in order to win this game. And even then, red will still have compensation in terms of, in the form of up to 20 points perhaps. But the plan, the strategic plan for black in a position like this is to allow whichever number of points for red, like 20, 25, whatever. As long as we have that extra meeple, and we can use the extra meeple to win a big field, which is like 30. So now, for example, I think it wasn't crazy from black to actually not go for the 4 points. I think this was the moment where we might be better off sacrificing some points for the sake of a better farming platform, because these 9 points here are amazing. And of course, there's still other paths for invasion, but giving our opponent the opportunity to go here for 9 points is really annoying to deal with. Now we probably have to do something like this, drop a farmer here, connect with a curve, and try equalize, and this is exactly what Andrea does. But then suddenly this square becomes more vulnerable, and Lauri can even go here and try to win the game on the spot by blocking both of these meeples. I don't think this is what Lauri is going to do. I think what Lauri is going to do is actually go here, take a 4-point road, potentially a 6-point road, going through these here 2 monastery squares. This would be certainly quite powerful. Powerful. We could also go here for 2 points, but I don't really like this. Yeah, and so red finds what I believe is the strongest move. Andrea is going to connect to the fields, currently having the 2-against-1 majority if we disregard this farmer. So red has a completely playable position. Just needs to figure out how to go about this. Yeah, what do? We can't spend a meeple now, so we have to just score quick points. If we score here, I think that's a good option. Then it also protects the square a little bit. If we score here, it's not great because we create vulnerabilities next to our city, not something that we want. Even though most of the time we don't complete the city, we actually still want for there to be a chance. But this move, it is not the best in my opinion because it helps protect this meeple a little bit. Larpaattori now going to probably finish his road, I guess. Even though normally I don't love the idea of helping 2 of my opponent's monasteries, but our opponent's monastery is already controlled by this red monastery on the left, so it is not essential to keep another meeple here. It's also nice to complete the field connection, and then if we place something here on here, we can block either of the monasteries, either of these 2 squares regardless. Andrea, however, as a result of this move, is threatening something quite sinister. If he gets a city cap, drops a farmer, can easily get a 3-against-2 majority on the field. He just needs to not do anything silly with this move. Basically, just use this tile anywhere but here. And that move is completely fine. Although I would have preferred a move here, actually, starting to block the square. Because this city of red, it is not completely blocked. There's a solid chance that it is going to be completed. In fact, it only needs 4 tiles. 4 tiles is not that many at this stage of the game. Larpaattori now probably going to block this square. Or at least try to block the square. Or no. He might just want to go here and try to gun for the city completion. Or he might want to go here to try and go for the city completion in other ways. He chooses to block the square first, thinking that there's still multiple Doritos that fit into this square. And so he's, I think, being quite thorough in his priorities, but Andrea manages to finish a city and drop a farmer. We're equal on the scoreboard, and now we've reached a point where this city is not big enough to compensate the value of the field, and this is exactly how you're supposed to be playing positions when your opponent is building a city with 2 meeples. So black is doing everything by the book pretty much. And red is paying now quite hardly for this imprecision. Maybe perhaps didn't see that this move helps black shape the board to his liking. Andrea now can protect the square, can save some of his monasteries. This is one of his options. Another option, he actually does not have to get a meeple back from these monasteries in order to win. He can just do something like this. Or like this. This is even better. Yeah, I should have seen that. Scoring 4 points, trying to block that square. Larpaattori cannot do nothing about that. Instead, he just continues trying to create threats. And black does not get a tile to block the square, and there's still 1 dagger that fits there. So the threat of completing the city is still real. Black needs to do something about this, but black, I think, does not do something about this. I think black should have gone over here. Should have tried to create another vulnerability, and most importantly, to cover up the field. This move makes some sense. I mean, it indirectly protects the square. It also drops another city cap in his field. But I think both players could be overestimating the power of meeple recovery for Black. Black does not really need this meeple back. It's just a serendipity. Black simply needs to hold the majority on the field, and then Black will be fine. Because Red is spending not 1, but 2 meeples on the city, even if Black loses an extra meeple in this monastery cluster, Black is still going to have the meeple advantage. And with a big field like this, there is typically not a huge difference between 1 meeple advantage and 2 meeple advantage. Like, if you play it right, you get to win the field either way most of the time. Well, let's see how Lauri chose to respond to this. So he really likes the idea of finishing this city eventually, and he's going to go for an indirect protection. Still wants to have that 1 tile that fits there. Then he's going to go here, finish the city, then draw a bunch of other city caps. Red is now blatantly trying to block... Black is now trying to blatantly block Red's monastery instead. And actually, from Black's perspective, now we can nicely go here. If we get that critical tile, Red protects this area. Black immediately is going to block and inconvenience both of the Larpaattori city meeples. The best that Red can do is simply score a monastery point or something. Or maybe try and threaten this field invasion. I would not be too worried if I'm Black. Even if Red successfully goes here and blocks, we still have an outside chance of going all the way around through that area. But then it is tempting to go here and protect the square towards the 2 vanilla city caps remaining. I probably wouldn't do it. I would go here just to try and block this meeple. Yep, I love the prioritization here. Now, Larpaattori is going to successfully block. But the idea is, if I successfully block this guy, and even if I don't manage to go all the way into the field like this, then my blocked meeple will be worth 3 points, my opponent's blocked meeple will be worth 1 point, and it's an even game. And I can still try to penetrate the field in other ways. But the prioritization of Black is such that they really want to preserve as high a chance of using their semi-blocked meeple for field invasions as they possibly can. I like that prioritization. Just 1 curvy tile, of which there are plenty, and just 1 Dorito or city cap, of which there are plenty, should do the job. Larpaattori now has an interesting moral dilemma here. Do we take a meeple back immediately, perhaps even dropping a farmer and trying to invade through that way? Or do we go here and kiss this meeple goodbye and try to invest all of our efforts into finishing this city? My intuition tells me to do this, but after I think for a little bit longer, I actually like this move a little bit more. Because there are some scenarios where we finish the big city and we don't win. If Black takes full control of the field. However, if we keep the city as a ruin and we equalize the field, then we do win quite often. But it's very, very tricky, and Larpaattori chooses to do just that. Does not drop a farmer yet, which is quite interesting to me. I probably would, honestly, I would. Like, if we really banking on this tile, if we're working so hard to protect this square, we might as well drop the extra farmer. We might as well put the money where our mouth is. Red is scoring extra points and blocking some monasteries. Andrea has blocked the most obvious field invasion platform. whilst continuing with his own invasion routes. Larpaattori can still complete that city, actually, and he tries to do exactly that. Just getting 2 extra points for now. Andrea finishes the city for 8, is ahead on the scoreboard again. Both sides have 2 meeples. Straight line for Larpaattori. Will he use this as an opportunity to protect his city? And he does exactly that, but now Andrea can block that city permanently by just going here. A pedestrian find for an expert of that level. It's definitely worth the 1 point sacrifice to do that. And it is an even easier find when you think about alternative moves, because there aren't any, really. There isn't anything particularly valuable that you can do with a tile like this. And going here, of course, would be a complete block, because there wouldn't be any starting tiles to fit into the square. All of the starting tiles are on the board already. Andrea does find the move. Larpaattori scores some points, keeps equality on the scoreboard. And now we're really going to need to drop some more farmers. But what about black dropping 1 more farmer right now? Well, we have 2 options here. Option 1, we just go here, and we simply close down this invasion platform because red could drop a farmer here themselves, or we take advantage of that platform ourselves and we try to overfarm, assuming again that the field is bigger than the city and we can therefore win. And the overfarming route has been chosen by black. Very strategically sound decision, I actually do quite like this. Very difficult for Larpaattori to do anything, because ideally from red's perspective, the way you play these positions is fieldless wins, right? You try to outscore your opponent, but how exactly are you going to do that? Okay, you have a big ruin for nearly 20 points, but then your opponent has an extra monastery, so you're up only 12, and the field is just so much more than 12. Yeah, it's 21 points. That is just very difficult to do anything. So we might just want to drop more farmers and try to equalize the field. Again, like going here right now is not crazy necessarily. Or maybe we go here, we try to limit the number of tiles that go into this square, and if we manage to cut off either this farmer or this farmer, we're gonna have a smaller minority on the field. And that way we keep the options open for attacking the field later. And the move that red just played is certain game. In the spirit of the position, trying to block one of the farmers will not be successful right now, but after these here 3 points, an interesting option has opened. Lauri can now go here for 2 points. Missed opportunity for red. If Lauri goes here for 2 points, then he opens more connection platforms for himself. These 2 points score the same number of points, but it does not do anything for the board texture. Yeah, and actually if you go here, there's some very nice opportunities how we can get something like a Dorito tile, drop a farmer, and then connect here with extra value, with 3 extra points. So a bit of a miss. Andrea has a wonderful tile for himself. It's not quite a field connection tile, but it is one which can protect his connection. It will also limit him, but hey, there is still 1 tile that fits into the square. And even if he doesn't get that 1 tile, there's a rather spectacular route for this guy into this field. Through here, here, like this, and then the last dagger tile all the way around here. So this is not just the defense of this square. It still gives chances for black to connect to the field in this peculiar manner. And I'm pretty sure that both players are seeing that idea. Scoring tile for Larpaattori. Lauri can get 2 points in many ways. This is an option, for example. Oh, really? Okay, okay. So he goes for a farmer. That makes a lot of sense. He's trying to go here, but he's also kind of trying to connect to this guy. So then Lauri's plan has changed. Then Lauri now needs to block the farmer at the top, and then to equalize this farmer with this farmer somehow. This certainly could work. A great draw from Red's perspective. And look at Andrea. That's a nice defensive move. Leaving 2 curves available for this square compared to just 1 dagger tile if we leave this in the other orientation. And the idea is also that sometimes if our opponent gets a dagger for this square, then we get a curve for this square. So there are kind of 3 critical tiles that we can draw. What's bad for red is that what's bad for black is that the last tile that fits here has already been drawn by red, so this route is not going to happen. Red is now trying to block the farm, and black is going to defend, but the interesting question is, do we drop yet another farmer? And I think he should have thought about this for a little bit longer. He figures that 1 is enough. But maybe, like, I'm trying to think, what do you need the meeple for? If you just double down over here, then I don't think red has quite enough to overtake you on the field. Because you see what can happen. Now, if red gets this tile and black gets this tile, we have equality on the field. So you might want to have an extra farmer there so that if you get the curve, you connect. But because the curve was drawn by red here, this farmer has now been cut off because now it's a Sophie's Choice block, right? It's the last curve in the deck, and black wants to place this curve over here to connect, but black is forced, of course, to connect this here first, which now means that red can win this game by drawing a simple dagger tile. Yeah, so that's why black really need that extra meeple over here. It has a nearly immeasurable impact on the win percentages. Because you see, if you drop a farmer here, in order to win the game, you need to draw just one of the 2 curves. But if you don't drop the farmer here, then you need to draw the curve, plus you need to draw this tile to deny your opponent the field entry. Andrea gets the dagger, just not the kind of dagger that he wants. He scores 6 points, but actually I don't think these 6 points do much for his win probability. Because really, it's either the field or not the field. The city here is just a bit too big. Maybe I should take that back. I'm actually not quite sure. Okay, the extra monastery plus the scoreboard lead is 15. The city is what? It's close to 20, right? And then if Larpaattori gets here, he gets 4 extra points. Yeah, I think even these 6 points really don't do all that much for black's win probability. It's really about trying to get an extra farmer on the field to prepare yourself for the eventuality of red eventually drawing a farmer here. And that's an excellent move from red. Trying to get another opportunity how to connect to the field. But I wonder, is there even another curvy tile to do this? Maybe not. Maybe the purpose of this move was simply to deny black a farming platform. Now we're down to our last tile. And one of these tiles is, of course, this dagger. If black gets the dagger, then black wins. It's kind of as simple as that. But I don't think there are any other curvy tiles. So, for example, if we go here and drop a farmer, then the connection doesn't quite work. And yeah, thank you for pointing out, João, that obviously this was a time trouble decision, that somehow Larpaattori managed to spend all his time, but also Larpaattori managed to win the game because he drew the dagger tile. He drew the dagger tile, and Andrea should be losing this by a couple of points, I believe, or maybe not. It's actually going to come pretty close. It's going to be really close. Oh no, Andrea is going to win this one regardless, just because I think I really underestimated as to how much this road scores. So the 6-point city at the top did actually matter. I'm kind of surprised how the Italian managed to win the game without winning the field. Yeah, very interesting. And overall, very well played by Black. Well, maybe with the exception of the opening move, which kind of put him into a difficult position. But then the whole idea of playing against the self-invasion. And again, we ended up with the most classic finish, where Red has a lot of points for a ruin, but Black manages to convert his meeple advantage into a win. Even though it was not exactly in the most traditional sense. Typically, you convert your meeple advantage in the form of farmers, but Black managed to score some points elsewhere. Alrighty, 1 Italy, 0 Finland. Lauri will need to win the next game in order to still hang in tight in this match. Hi, Max. Yeah, I can see that some of you are pointing in the chat that Lauri could have scored 1 extra point by using the dagger in a different location. This, of course, is true, but I assume that Lauri's purpose was just to connect to the field and not lose on time. Lauri now will be the starting player, which will be an advantage which he desperately needs. He has already drawn a couple of city tiles. Whoa! Look at this teleportation, isn't that interesting? Now, I obviously know that this is just Board Game Arena acting up, but it's quite the cheat code. Yeah, sometimes Board Game Arena does this, like they just wouldn't show a tile. So Black is obviously trying to block Red City. Red is now starting a very extravagant city fight this early in the game. Normally doesn't end too well. But then how do you deal with this if you're Andrea? This is one of the options. We try and set up a block in that area. Or, if Red managed to connect, we try and set up a block in that area. I would have preferred going here instead, but not many productive uses for that tile in any case. Larpaattori now with a curve. Needs to do something against his city attack. Chooses indirect protection as his best option. Black continues his road, and red would wants to go here and connect to this road, but it could lead to a disaster in so many scenarios. It could lead to 2 blocked meeples. So that's why he's not going to do it. Black with a shielded tile needs to not go to this area, just start a new city somewhere. This move should be just fine. No, don't do that, Andrea. Oh, no, this is really, it's not a good move. It's not a good move at all. We waste a shielded tile, and we basically justify our opponent's dubious decision of starting a big city fight earlier in the game. Like, the quality of this city is so much better than the quality of this city meeple that we do not want to group them together. We want to keep our city as separate as possible. But moreover, there's also the issue of red now having this configuration, and there are plenty of scenarios how now black connects on one side, but gets blocked on the other side, and red just has his cake, eats it too, has lots of ruin points with no meeple disadvantage, and so on and so forth. And that's quite a big strategic blunder here by Andrea. So maybe a chance for the Finn to catch up a little bit. And the exact problem that I was describing is about to happen. Black is going to get blocked on this square, and then red is going to have this gigantic ruin. Black, however, does get 2 back-to-back road monasteries next to each other, and this is certainly very nice to have. So black can certainly win this. Red takes 3 quick points, take the lead on the scoreboard, but prepares another monastery spot for black, which Andrea eagerly takes. And Larpaattori is now not having the easiest time. As Larpaattori, I don't think we actually even finish our city. We will be only getting 6 points extra, and we will be giving 3 points for our opponent's road and 1 point for their monastery. I don't think we want to do that, and I like this decision. If we are going to go here, then ideally we want a tile like this, which would help us shorten the road of our opponent and score some extra points for our own. Also, if we were to have finished the city, we would have given a meeple back to black, and since black has only 1, we want to keep them meepleless for as long as possible. They do have this gigantic scoring cluster here, so the least that we can do is not give them meeples to score points in other parts of the board. Lauri now scores 5 points for the monastery, but maybe I would have just gone here instead. Trying to... No, I take that back. I take that back. This monastery is perfectly fine. In fact, there's still the idea of red going over here, blocking the square, then expanding that ruin, and so on, and then this square will be part of our city eventually. Nice move here by Andrea, blocking this ruin option. This, however, results into a point sacrifice. There were certainly other options available. Larpaattori now probably going to finish a city, start a new one, take the lead on the scoreboard. Monastery tile for Larpaattori, for Angostur. Oh, okay, what do we do with it? I think this is the first monastery of the game that will not be meepled. Because if we meeple that monastery, we stay without meeples for so long, so often. I think a simple move like here or here is the way to go. If we can just manage to get those 2 meeples back, we should be in a good position. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Larpaattori now successfully blocks this square, and even though it won't result into a huge ruin with a 2 versus 1 advantage, it's still worth something. Black's meeple is capped at 3 points in this area, whereas Red's meeple has already 6 and some chances for further expansion. In the meantime, Red builds up his monastery. Black builds up his monastery, now finishes one of his monasteries and starts a city. Black is preparing to finish yet another monastery. Larpaattori now is doing I'm not sure what, just getting a meeple back. Hainat Pira. Larpaattori with another tile that will allow a meeple back. I'm sure the natural move is the one that we're most likely to see. There's some other options available, like it's not crazy to go here and start a farm and try to play against that square. Maybe that's actually even better. That's interesting. We'll see what the Finnish Master does in a second. They still have 10 minutes on their clock. Paul Verde were suggesting, instead of going over here for black to protect the entry. Yeah, that is an option, actually. I probably prefer the block a little bit more because it is lower variance. Because you see, the issue with protecting the city connection, like the issue with this idea to begin with, why this wasn't strategically sound, is because you're forced to make 2 connections. And even if you protect this one, then there is a chance that the second meeple is going to suffer. So by going over here and blocking the center, you've guaranteed yourself that this situation is never going to turn into a disaster for you. Like, you can withstand your opponent having a winning mini battle for 3 points, because you know that strategically you're about to finish a bunch of monasteries, you're going to get a bunch of meeples back, and there's really not all that much for you to worry about. In the meantime, players exchange natural moves. Larpaattori did not go for the farm, which does make some sense. Instead, they finished the city at the top. Both players have exchanged a lot of quick points. Andrea now trying to finish yet another city. And this will be quite painful to watch, because plenty of Doritos go here. And now the city is very close to being unstoppable. Andrea also gets a meeple back from the monastery. Lauri gets a meeple back from the city, so at least that's something. Another monastery for Red still keeps Red temporarily ahead in this game. I'm saying temporarily because Andrea now has another city. Well, not another, but like a city threat in addition to the features that he already has. And an extra meeple to play with. Now we're presumably going to see 1 monastery point. There isn't anything better. Or at least I don't see it. We could also go here and try to poke at this meeple a little bit. It appears to be not quite worth it. Or, you know, we could take the obvious 4 points, which I completely missed. That was bad. Fortunately, Andrea is not going to make the same blunders as the commentator. 2 quick points for Lauri. Lots of quick points in this game. And now, interesting decision for Andrea here, actually. Option 1, we go here and try and complete our city. But then there's so many Dorito tiles that I would be tempted to wait for a Dorito plus Dorito combo. And with this tile, just do something else. Maybe going here, taking a point, blocking this square, not allowing Larpaattori to get the last crossroad tile, which would result in the completion of the city and the shortening of our road. And also a meeple recovery for red, so not something that we want. An alternative is to go here and start a farmer with an empty city cap for a third completed city in the farm. Yeah, my instinct says just to not go here. But even if black does go here, I don't think it's as a mistake or anything, because there's still a lot of city caps. This is an interesting move. This is a really interesting move. So he just blocks the ruin of red and tries to create a vulnerability next to red city. I don't think it is quite worth it, but it's certainly quite creative. And Larpaattori with a big miss. This is not how you try and block the city. This tile was such a godsend for red, because this tile goes here or here to break the configuration of the city. And the best thing that Lauri came up with was to just place it sort of kind of next to the city to maybe in the future do something about this. But then what you're gonna do if your opponent draws one of the 4 Dorito tiles and covers up immediately, or something like this? Andrea's preparing to finish the city, whilst red is building up the monastery. Andrea now has an interesting move available to him, so I don't think we go here, because we want to make the square as unobstructed as possible. We do not want to give back a blocking platform against that square. The move which jumps out to me is actually going here, which would be a permanent block to this square, because all 3 right-handed daggers have gone out. An alternative was going here, but then I don't really like spending tiles on partial blocks if I have complete blocks available to me in the position. Interesting greedy move by Larpaattori will gonna result into his meeple getting blocked. So the natural move was to go here and to try and recover a meeple, but instead red chooses to try and score some points. But then it's a pretty easy block for black. There's nothing that's fit into this square. Larpaattori is going to get a meeple back, maybe just not the meeple that he wanted. 3 extra points on the scoreboard. Andrea can now block red's monastery, which is still worth doing. And at this point, there isn't anything much better with this Dorito tile that he can do. The monastery is still completable. We definitely want to take care of that. It is quite an easy find from black's perspective, because black just completed a block toward the dagger tile. And so black already must know that these dagger tiles do not exist anymore. So all you have to do is go here, and this is exactly what happens. Some nice precise play. Well, Larpaattori gets a second chance at trying to block Andrea's city. Will they do it right now? Now there are actually several ways of doing this. This move definitely makes sense. I believe Andrea is going to continue his city and try to get at least 8 points. And Lauri is now without any particular ideas. Not the most useful tile in the deck. We have a meeple extra, but the board is kind of closed. There aren't even any good farms. There are 2 6-point fields. One at the top, one at the bottom. There's a monastery spot for 8 points, but no monasteries in the deck left, so we cannot use that. So yeah, this board is as dry as a metaphor. Six and a half minutes for Larpaattori. He could claim a 5-point road, I guess, but I would probably just discard that tile somewhere. Or no, not that. No. There was a move with marginal value. Like, if we go here, then we make it slightly more annoying for our opponent's city, like ever so slightly. So that was something. This move makes sense because it blocks the square and it does not allow black to draw a starting tile and score 4 points, but I don't like this move because black already has a good use for a starting tile, which is just finishing this city. Larpaattori with a dagger tile, one which Andrea would have liked. Well, do we start dropping farmers now? And the answer appears to be yes. 6 points for red, but 8 points for black for finishing a city on the left. Larpaattori scores some more. Now it's a 9-point farmer with some chances of becoming a 12-point farmer, but Andrea surely is going to go over here for a 6, trying to equalize this farm for 9. You can also go here for 1 and just try and block the city. Instead, he tries to be non-confrontational and takes 6 points in a different part of the board. This is the move of somebody who believes they're winning big time. And now surely they're just going to go here for 6, or here for 6, or here for 6, or in several other possible places for 6. The most important part is just score and not let your opponent get 2 easy points. Larpaattori is ahead on the scoreboard, but black is slightly more ahead because black has a bit more points on cities and roads, a bit more points in fields as well. However, now, look at this. Ooh, this is a clutch find because it was important to go here, since Larpaattori now cannot finish his city because this city is in black's field. And if red goes here, then this actually will be a net loss of points. 6 for turning a 4-point city into a 10-point city, but then -1 for the monastery, -3 for the road, and -3 for creating a completed cities in our opponent's field. So all in all, if we go here as red, this move gives us -1 point, which is why we don't go there. We probably go here for 6. And I don't know, we connect here. Or there's another interesting option. We can actually just go here. Maybe claiming a 5-point road, maybe leaving it empty. And if we go here, then we unify the 2 farmers of our opponent. This black's farm is 6, this black's farm is 6, so that's 12. If we combine the 2 farmers together, it will be 1 big farm with 3 completed cities worth 9 points, rendering one of the meeples semi-useless. Now, before making such a move, we need to make sure that we don't lose a big field, but from what I understand, there are no curvy tiles and no monasteries remaining, so nothing can fit into this square. So our 9-point meeple is actually quite safe. And 4 minutes on the clock is more than enough to figure that out. So I'm pretty sure that what Lauri is doing, he's just trying to double check all the tile counts. And then I have no doubt he's eventually going to find the move. The fact that he has not done so is slightly worrisome to me. In the meantime, I want to point out that this move ends up being counterproductive for Red because Red has blocked his own city scoring chances. Red could have gone over here for 4 points. Instead, Red will need to settle for this move for 3 points. But he has reservations even about that idea. Interestingly, the 2 remaining tiles appear to be big tiles. Oh, never mind. One of them is a big tile. A horse. No straight lines, no starting tiles. No, Lauri! It wasn't that hard a calculation. And Lauri just wasted 3 points. Yeah, that is rather sad. Now, I don't think it is going to make a difference, but let's see. It appears that Lauri is going to win this game regardless, despite a rather blatant blunder in the pre-end game. It appears to be simply a miscount, because making a move like this makes sense if you believe that there's a curvy tile in the deck. Because then, of course, you want to prevent your opponent from connecting to your field and so on and so on. But yeah, somewhat unexpected. Anyway, Lauri ends up winning by 8 points instead of the 11 points with which he could have won. And this is great news for all of our Finnish and neutral fans, because now we have a decider awaiting to happen. Players have agreed to a 3-minute break, so I'm gonna go and boil some hot water for my hot beverages, which is just hot water. Alrighty, we're now back. The players should be starting their third game. And away we go. Finland 1, Italy now. Okay. I need to focus. Why am I misspeaking? Finland 1, Italy now. Finland 1, Italy 1. Why is it so difficult to pronounce the word 1? It has been a rather long stream. Okay, Alexey, focus. So Larpaattori is playing with red meeples, already has scored 4 points. Angostur with the first monastery of the game. This was actually a sneaky move from before. The purpose of this move is trying to get a tile discarded. I do quite like this. Didn't end up working just yet. Anyway, Lauri is ahead 8 points on the scoreboard as a result of completing the second city, but this rather nice development of events for black. 2 points, and then the obstruction of the road of red. Right, with a couple of options here. Could continue the city on the left. Could start a new city somewhere. Maybe not here as much as I like this, just because the square is too vulnerable. This move does make a lot of sense. Trying to harass this road a little bit, and also making it quite difficult to invade or block that city. So what does Andrea even do here? The most natural move is just to go here and start a new city and maybe hope that we draw a road monastery. Boom, here for 5 points, controlling our opponent's city. Then we cover up this road. Then we get another road monastery here for 6, controlling the city from the other side. Then we get a straight line and we score 4 points for the road. Then we get a curve and we try to block the city. Then we get another monastery, and I am getting carried away. But this is how I typically think about games. If we go here, even if we don't draw the road monastery, there's some good scenarios. For example, we could get a curve and a crossroads. And Andrea chose to do something different, which I don't think is a good idea. So the good part of this idea is this, right? He gets to try and get himself a 4-point road, then to maybe block that square. But I think Andrea must have underestimated just how often this meeple gets into trouble. So a simple curve would basically destroy black's game at this point. This is a nice idea. Very nice idea for black to actually not develop that city just yet, but develop the monastery and play against this city. And look at Lauri going for 4-point monastery and trying to destroy black's game. And actually, from black's perspective, I would even breathe a little sigh of relief, because a curve here without a meeple is more devastating than this monastery with a meeple. Because now the worst that can happen is, well, this square getting blocked, which would still leave the same meeple count for both opponents. Well, anyway, Lauri keeps scoring and scoring. Now this city has been freed. Some quick points for Andrea, but this sets up red's road. Nice for completion. And I was going to say that black now needs to find a rather easy move. We don't take these 2 points. We do this, of course. Yeah, it's tragic. So first of all, we don't take 6 points for the road. And second of all, our opponent takes 6 points, and it's like a 8-point swing, just this one decision, and this could very well cost the game. To play with the black meeples. Lauri now is also nicely controlling these two monasteries with a city of his own. It looks like the city is broken, but this is not true. In fact, it's a wonderful position to be in. As red, all you need to do to cover up is one Dorito tile, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you either block the square, in which case your opponent 2 meeples, or you finish a big city for 18 or 20 points. Anyway, red is currently ahead plus 16. I'm going to make the whole screen a little bit bigger. Kind of forgot about that. Andrea manages to cover up his city for a little bit, so this is certainly worth something. Still another square that he needs to tend to. A longer-term city project that the Italian has some hopes about. And in the meantime, Lauri can do all kinds of things. For example, a move which is not crazy is to just go here and indirectly meeple a 6-point city. But Lauri finds something even more extravagant in directly meepling a more point city. Andrea trying to cover up here a little bit. Some more quick points for Lauri. Trying to poke at this square somewhat. Black will protect. Red now is building up his monastery, trying to block black at the same time. Nothing much the black can do about this. So our two options are either going here and trying to threaten the completion of that city as soon as possible, or to go here and equalize the little city of Larpaattori before it's too late. Intuition tells me to go here, because if I'm down 21, I want something to happen ASAP. Larpaattori now with a starting tile, which looks great, but it's actually not his preferred draw, because he cannot do anything significant against this city. And this is certainly something. But the square is not that restricted. There's still a starting tile for this square, a starting tile or a rose for this square, and 2 Doritos for this square. Now, after the second tile has been drawn by red, the situation has certainly changed. And Andrea cannot do nothing much. I guess he can go here and try to protect the city a little bit. He even goes towards a 50-50. His idea that he wants to draw a starting tile in this square, and he wants to draw a rose tile in this square. That also makes a lot of sense. An alternative was to just let fate decide the outcome surrounded by the square, and try to block red's meeple instead. Hi, Glavier. Nasty move here by red, significantly reducing the number of tiles that fit into this square. And more quick points for Larpaattori. Andrea now not gonna be able to continue his city. But maybe going here or here, yeah, that makes some sense. This move will be this move will be so unpleasant. And in fact, this city is now completely closed. This is one of my favorite types of blocks. When there's still a tile for each of those squares, but there's not a combination of tiles that fit into both squares, because the only tile that fits into this square is a dagger tile, but then this would create a crossroads shaped hole, and you would need the same tile in 2 squares. Andrea saying in the chat, I think it's GG for you. It is indeed the case. The last game appears to have been a bit anticlimactic, but The draws of Larpaattori actually not that crazy good. Andrea did get the 2 monasteries early on, and I think it all comes down to simply this one decision, as this meeple is so much more unpleasant to deal with if you're black compared to the same move with the other orientation. Black now completes the self-block, which of course is correct because he just needs to take the 5 points, 1 for the city, 4 for the road. Lauri gets a 3rd monastery, temporarily out-monasterying Andrea. So let's just sit back and watch what happens. Well, this is something like it's a 6-point farmer. It could turn into a 12-point farmer potentially with some good draws. Maybe this meeple gets blocked. Maybe Andrea finishes the city somehow. The loss of this road meeple is certainly going to be very painful against something very, very preventable from earlier on. This is a great tile for Andrea, though, getting 8 points, a meeple back. A lovely tile for Larpaattori too, trying to get a city of his own. Quick points for black, catching up a little bit. Still can finish this city, by the way. Still can finish these here monasteries, but this has to be super painful, as this was the last tile that fits into this square. So these monasteries are permanently trapped, and red can still get one of the 2 Dorito tiles. The last Dorito tile that fit into this square. Lauri gets a meeple back and some points on the scoreboard. This farmer is now worth 12, currently the most valuable feature on the board, but red now has meeples to fight for it. Yeah, if you're Andrea, you need to draw this tile ASAP. Then you need to draw some sort of dagger for this square. And then you need to draw the tile that fits here just so that your opponent does not have it. And then you need to do I don't even know what. Eight minutes on Andrea's clock. Well, I guess there's quite an obvious move like this. Well, it's not obvious, but it is his strongest move, I believe. Trying to block this square, but still preserve the chance of drawing a splitter tile and scoring some points. Larpaattori is now going to invade. Quite unfortunate for Andreas. He was going to cover up this square, and now he doesn't even have a splitter that goes here. And the last starting tile goes to Larpaattori, and now to rub this in, I was gonna say that Larpaattori can actually afford to go here and get his monastery back, but instead he simply chooses to clean off a city cap in his opponent's field. He figures he doesn't even need a meeple, because he can just keep scoring quick points, and despite Andrea enlarging his field to like 18 points, Larpaattori is still going to win big time. Gonna go here for a 5-point road, trying to continue his monastery at the same time. This is the highest scoring move available to him. But with 8 minutes on the clock, I would try to be precise. So for example, if there were 2 curvy tiles, which there aren't, I would go here and drop a farmer and try to invade my opponent's field like this. There's 1 curvy tile. Oh, there were 2 curvy tiles. Wait, so why didn't we... Yeah, so there were 2 curvy tiles, so actually we could have gone here, and we could have dropped a farmer like this. That would have been fun. Well, anyway, a farmer has been dropped nonetheless, just not for as many points. A completed monastery for good measure. Let's see the point difference. An 18-point field for Andrea, and then 2 little 6-point fields for both sides, resulting into a 16-point win for Larpaattori, which feels wrong. It felt like plus 30. This means that Andrea did have some chances until quite late in the game. So we congratulate Lauri on the comeback win, despite trailing 1-0 in the series. For Andrea, our commiserations. But they still have plenty of time to rectify their tournament situation later. We don't need to look at the tournament situation in much detail, because it is just round 1 and everything can still happen. I'm just gonna look at the itinerary of both players. You can see what awaits both of these players. Probably the toughest challenge for Larpaattori is going to be Pavel Hudets, Posse 118 in the last round. But then a couple of other big names before that. And for Andrea, their toughest challenge is probably Basiluk. A player with a similar style, but just higher rated and probably more precise. So they will definitely need to prepare hard for this, and a couple of other strong players before the way. Colombia's Sergio Antolines, Japan's Wahei, Brazil's Sergas. Alrighty, so that sums it up for today. Hi Larpaattori, congrats for the win. I'm just going to do something very quick before wrapping up the stream. First of all, let's just have a look at what's happening tomorrow. Games are scheduled at a short notice. And tomorrow there's really nothing much. I mean, I will stream something. I will not be able to cover Tito Arce versus Blusta because I'm playing myself. I won't be able to cover this match because I will also be playing myself. You can watch the first 2 matches on Ice Maze's channel, including my own duel. I might cover Erwin G against Fabian Mouton, but I would really prefer not to because Erwin's playing so fast, he's not going to let me get a word in. This game is going to be finished in like 15 minutes. On the other hand, Fabian is known for taking his time, so I might cover it nonetheless. So in all likelihood, there will be something tomorrow, but I will wait for more matches to be scheduled. The day after tomorrow, of course, I'm broadcasting the big showdown between former world champion Tomasz Preuss and probably future world champion Otto Ikonen. As for the stream tomorrow, it will be announced at a very, very short notice, so in order not to miss it, make sure to subscribe for more competitive content like this. And if you liked anything about today, make sure to meeple the like button before you leave, as it is more important for the algorithm than you might think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.